Imagine a frog leaping through the Amazon rainforest. It misjudges its landing and drops into a river. But this is no ordinary river. Within seconds, its eyes begin to boil first. Once it can no longer swim, water floods its mouth and lungs, cooking it from the inside out. Along the banks, the bodies of frogs and birds who fell in are preserved where they died. This is the Shanay Timpishka, and its waters can reach nearly the boiling point. The Shanay Timpishka flows deep in the Peruvian Amazon. It's a tributary of the Pachatia River, which feeds the Ucayali, the main headstream of the mighty Amazon itself. The entire river system runs roughly 9 kilometers, but only the lower stretch, when about 6 kilometers, is thermal. At its widest, accounts put it somewhere between 25 and 30 meters across, and at its deepest, around 4.5 to 6 meters. At its headwaters, the river is just a cool jungle stream, about 27 degrees Celsius, completely ordinary, but as it flows downstream, something extraordinary happens. The water heats up dramatically. Sources describe average temperatures climbing to 85, 86, even nearly 95 degrees Celsius. The hottest reading ever taken in a hot spring feeding the river was a staggering 99.1 degrees Celsius to 10 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hot enough to cook a small animal in seconds. Here is what makes it truly baffling. Boiling rivers exist near volcanoes where magma close to the surface heats groundwater, but the Shanay Timpishka isn't near any active volcano. The nearest volcanic center is over 700 kilometers away, more than 400 miles, and the river sits in the middle of a sedimentary basin. By every conventional rule of geology, a river this hot simply should not be here. The people who live along the river have their own explanation. Its Quechua name, Shanay Timpishka, means boiled by the heat of the sun. 3 communities live along its banks: Mayantuyacu, Santuario Huishtin, and the Shanay Timpishka Center. To the Ashaninka people and local shamans, the river is sacred. Born from Yakumama, a giant serpent spirit known as the Mother of the Waters, who gives birth to both hot and cold streams, every site along the river, they say, is home to its own jungle spirit. For one boy, this legend became an obsession. Andres Ruzo first heard of the boiling river as a child from his grandfather, wrapped inside a tale of a lost city of gold hidden in the Amazon. His father told him of Spanish conquistadors who claimed to have seen a river that boiled, and later an aunt insisted she had actually swum across it. That last claim stuck with him because to a young scientist it sounded impossible. Years later, Ruzo was pursuing a PhD in geophysics, building the first detailed heat flow map of Peru to hunt for potential geothermal energy. The childhood legend resurfaced, but when he brought it up in academic circles, he was dismissed. One of his professors told him to stop asking stupid questions. His thesis advisor flatly regarded the whole idea of a boiling river as stupid, and yet he couldn't let it go. Backed by a National Geographic Young Explorers grant, Ruzo set out to find it. Getting there was no small feat. In 2011, reaching the river from the city of Pucallpa took 2 hours by car, then 30 to 45 minutes by motorized canoe, then an hour or more of hiking through dense jungle. And then at last he stood before it. A river, wide and deep, steaming and churning, hot enough to kill. The legend was real. Now the real question began: what could heat a river this large, this far from any volcano? Ruzo knew a big geothermal system needs 3 things: a tremendous heat source, a large volume of water, and a plumbing system to bring hot water to the surface. He weighed 3 hypotheses: 1, a hidden volcanic or magmatic source; 2, a natural non-volcanic system with anomalously fast-flowing hot water; 3, and this was chilling, an oil field accident. That third possibility wasn't paranoia. The boiling river sits just 2 to 3 kilometers from the oldest active oil field in the Peruvian Amazon, and there was precedent for disaster. The Luzi mud volcano in Java, believed to have been triggered by drilling, displaced over 40,000 people. If human activity had unleashed this river, it would be a catastrophe, but the investigation pointed elsewhere. The evidence revealed something remarkable. The river is fault-fed. Rainwater falling far upstream, possibly near the Andes, seeps deep into the earth through cracks and deep-rooted faults. As it travels down into the crust, the Earth's natural geothermal gradient superheats it. Then it rises back to the surface through those same fault lines, emerging as boiling hot springs right in the riverbed. National Geographic describes it as an entirely natural, non-volcanic geothermal feature, flowing at anomalously high rates. The legend had an answer, not the heat of the sun, not a serpent's breath, but rainwater and the slow, immense heat of the planet itself. Some sources go further, calling it possibly the largest hydrothermal system on the planet. Russo didn't stop at geology. He recruited biologists Spencer Wells and Jonathan Eisen to sequence the genomes of microorganisms living in the river's scalding waters. Rare extremophiles that thrive where almost nothing should survive. These microbes matter. Just like organisms found near deep ocean hydrothermal vents, they may hold promise for medical or industrial applications. But even as scientists studied this living laboratory, a darker consequence was unfolding around it. The pristine jungle that had protected the river for centuries was vanishing at an alarming pace. Consider this, in 2011, reaching the river required a car, a canoe, and a long hike. By 2014, it was a direct 3-hour drive, no canoe, no walking needed. That change wasn't progress, it was deforestation. Up to 99% of the forest loss around the river came from locals felling the largest, most valuable trees, then clear burning what remained, dumping gasoline, setting fires, and releasing cattle onto the scorched land. In a strange twist, one of the few remaining patches of untouched jungle belongs to an oil and gas company, Maple Energy. On Google Earth, the concession stands out as a green island, pristine forest surrounded by cleared land. Because oil and gas companies face enormous fines and can lose their concessions for environmental violations, that land was ironically better protected than the forest around it. Andres Russo's research earned further National Geographic support, including a grant to close out the geologic study and expand public outreach. What began as a grandfather's bedtime legend of a lost city of gold became a genuine scientific discovery and a rallying point for conservation. The people who live there still consider the river sacred. They still swim across it, only when heavy rains dilute the scalding water with cooler runoff. The Shnei Timpishka reminds us that the world still holds mysteries, hiding in plain sight, dismissed as impossible, ignored by experts, remembered only in old family stories, and sometimes the strangest legends turn out to be true, and sometimes it takes one person refusing to stop asking stupid questions to find the boiling river that no one believed was real.